I want to show you all of the things that I use to help me manage fibromyalgia and myofascial pain. Let me put them down and get more comfortable and I'll show you them all. I'm Melissa from Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia. I have lived with symptoms of chronic pain since I was a teenager. I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, and one of the more debilitating symptoms that I live with is constant chronic trigger points, particularly in my neck. And it's something I'm working to deal with all day, every day. And I love to share what works for me in case it helps you. So today I wanted to share my growing collection of things that actually help, the things that I use. Now, it's part of a holistic plan, so I'm working on my overall health at all times. I take low-dose naltrexone. I do everything you can think of to sleep as well as possible. I do gentle exercise and gentle yoga and work on my nervous system and all of that kind of thing. So this is not in isolation, but these are things that I employ myself to help me on a daily basis. And I think I'm kind of a good person to tell you about it because I've taken my pain from moderate to mild. I mean, obviously pain levels change, and so I hover at about 3 or 4 out of 10 most of the time now with all of the things I do. So let's talk about the first thing because it is kind of the most bulky thing I'm holding. This is a heated electronic pad thing. It's like a wearable heating pad. Now, I never learned about electronic heating pads until very recently, and I was very disappointed. It looks like I've turned into an angel. Why? Why is the lighting doing this to me? We'll go with it. So I only learned about electronic heating pads like relatively recently, and they have changed my life. So I use one every single night in my bed. So when I first get into bed, I turn it on, and then when I wake in the middle of the night, as I invariably do, I turn it back on, and it has made the night so different for me. Like, I remember vividly standing in the freezing cold kitchen at like 2, 3, 4 a.m. waiting for my heating pad to heat up in the microwave so that I could take it back to bed. And it was never like 100% comfortable because they're not really made for you to lie on, right? And so it has changed the game for me. Not to say that I don't still use a microwavable one. I do, and it's turned a awkward color because I have used it a lot, but this is my microwavable heating pad. I use it every single day, probably every few hours. I start the morning with it. I come out with a cup of coffee and a piece of toast and sit down with my heat pack, and that helps me get started for the day. It helps me throw off the weird sleepy vibes, and it helps me get my neck moving. I'll use it when I'm sitting at the computer. I'll use it when I'm wandering around. It's my favorite, and it really helps. Heat is a big thing for me and my trigger points. The next thing is a foam roller. Now, I use this one less these days because I've got a thing that works better, but I still think foam rollers have a place, especially if you need to roll your whole back. So if you have tension and trigger points in your back or your glutes or your upper legs, then this might be more helpful. So this is my foam roller. I think probably a longer one would be more helpful, but this is just what I've tried. I mean, I've spent so much money over the years. I'm now really reluctant to buy new things. But so these are the things that I would recommend and would spend money on myself and already did. This is my Theracane trigger point massager. It is pretty cool. It helps you reach your back. Since I found my peanut ball, I use my peanut ball more often, but I will use this for my neck, my shoulders, and my back, and I love it. Oh, the technical difficulties of filming this one little video. The dog has been going crazy about things, the light is going crazy, but we will persist. Now this little thing, it is like $10 or less. This has been the best find. It is called a peanut ball. Now, lots of people talk about using 2 tennis balls and putting them in a sock and using them for the same idea, but I just like this because it is perfect and it is durable. So I will use it for the trigger points from my neck down to just above my pelvis. I can't use it lower on my pelvis, it's too sensitive for me, but this helps to alleviate the muscle knots and tension in those key areas, and you can use it while standing and like lean against the wall and have it go up and down, and it really does help relieve the pressure. It really does make a difference for me, especially when the pain is getting right up there and I'm waiting for that next physio appointment. Now, the most recent thing, and I have actually been very loath to spend any more money lately, but this is something I've been thinking about for a while. So Dr. Ginevra's suggested a cranial cradle years ago, and I thought that would be a very good idea, but the specific one she recommended I couldn't get delivered here from Amazon. But I have found this. It is like a neck traction pillow, and I'm still in the early stages of playing with it. So this is the lighter side. So what I do is I put my head on here, and then it just kind of relaxes. And so what you do is you lie back on it and breathe. That's it. And the first day I just used it for a couple of minutes. It felt quite strong because I do react quite strongly to these things. And everything was okay. It didn't make anything good or bad. Last night I used it for about 3 minutes on the floor, and I felt like I could feel it relaxing. I could feel like each part of my neck relaxing. And if you go on to the reviews, there are endless reviews of people saying, I was skeptical, but and so there were lots of people saying I was getting a neck hump and it's helped me to fix that. Lots of people who say I spend a lot of time on computers, have a lot of neck problems, and this helped. So I'm committed to continuing to try it because, like I've said, my neck is a very important thing, and the gentle traction is actually something that I love, but have never been able to adequately replicate at home. So these are all my favorite trigger point tools. I'll put the link to the blog post below with all of the information for it and links so that you can have a look at it. They are all inexpensive. Probably the more expensive one is the electric heating pad, and that's just the way it is. But also here in New Zealand, things are more expensive for me because there's a lot less option. But let me know, what is your favorite trigger point or pain tool, and have you used them? Because I would recommend that you get one, choose one, and then commit to using it, even just a few minutes, a couple of times a day, because there was recently a piece of research published about a small pilot study where some people with fibromyalgia did some self-trigger point work. It sounded like they had something like maybe one of these balls, and they were using it on their trigger point, and it improved their rating on the Fibromyalgia Impact Questionnaire rating scale. So I think it's worth a try, but I also think you've got to commit to it and keep going. But I do find it really helpful. So for example, if things are getting really bad, things are building up and it's going towards a migraine, I will take my medicine and then use the trigger point massage tool, whichever one I've chosen, usually this one because it's the quickest thing you can do, and then hop into bed with my electric heating pad, and that's how I get through a massive flare. So tell me again, what's your favorite, and I'll put all of the details for you below.